What up, everybody? This is Stuart Knight, author of the books Marginalizing White Supremacy, Poetic Visions, A Steep Mister for a Sister, and A Spirit the World Has Forgotten. And today, starting off, I'm going to give a shameless plug to a brother named DJ Mr. Soul, who has an app, a musical app, a radio station app, actually, called 87.9 The Culture, spelled just like that. It's an app that's available for your iPhone. Look at me, I had to sit up here like this, you know. It's an app that's available on your iPhones or your Android, and just look it up in your respective store. 87.9 The Culture. They play contemporary R&B and hip hop music. It's a good radio station. Every now and then they have mix hours, you know, during the afternoons, you know, Mr. Soul, you know, he usually has a 3-hour mix show that also has a chat room and some good conversations that be going on. He's changing things up right now, getting things together, so that aspect is not in there, but when it comes up, it's going to be live. So check it out, 87.9 The Culture. Okay, today, this might be a little bit of a lengthy video, but it's going to be an important one, a very informative one, I think, if I can relate the concepts to you clearly, you know, if I can. Today I'm going to talk about the philosophical concept that we're living under today en masse as far as the way people think and perceive reality. And it's a concept called Post-Modernism in philosophy. Now, I'm gonna do the worst thing that you're supposed to do on camera, and you ain't supposed to do on camera, and that's read. But you know, I wanted to make sure that I wrote these things down so that so hopefully I can relate it, you know, to the audience here pretty clearly. But let me get to it. Let me shut up and get to it. Start doing some other stuff, you know. Okay, now postmodernism in Western philosophy, a late 20th century movement characterized by broad skepticism, subjectivism, all about me culture, and relativism, once again, all about me. A general suspicion of reason, no, it's my world. You're just a squirrel trying to get a nut. And an acute sensitivity to the role of ideology in asserting and maintaining political and economic power. Let me reread that. And an acute sensitivity to the role of ideology in asserting and maintaining political and economic power. Okay. Now, what that means is that, you know, it's a skepticism against a select group of people who, in a sense, are supposedly hoarding a knowledge that they use to actually manipulate and control other people. And that is where that sensitivity to is. You know, that's why some people say, you know, you can't tell me nothing, you know. You know, if you might know something that, but let me keep going. And this, hold on. And now this concept had, as far as postmodernism, you know, began to get its legs, its sea legs and everything in the 1980s and 90s. And postmodernism became the unofficial philosophy of identity politics. You know, the identity politics in which you see today, you know, when it concerns feminism, gender, transsexuality, you know, pansexual, all the sexuality stuff. Some of the things concerning, some ideas concerning race, no, I don't think, you know, race really plays into that aspect of identity politics, but you know, the gender and sexual politics, most definitely, that's what it plays into. Okay, now, when it comes to postmodernism and modernism, you know, modernism was the philosophical idea of the ancients. Well, you know, as far as Western philosophy, it was the early 17th and 18th centuries and 19th centuries. But, you know, there's an aspect, you know, to the modernist line of Western thinking that goes all the way back into the Kemetic mystery systems, and now maybe I'll kind of expound on that just a little bit at the end. Okay, but here's some of the things that postmodernism is against as concerned, whereas it concerns, the previous modernist line of thinking. Okay, in modernism, there is an objective reality autonomous from humans. Okay, now what that means is that, the greater spirits have a schematic as to how the world runs. Or as I'd like to say it, the game don't change, only the players. And that's an old adage that goes way back, but it holds very true. Now, postmodernists believe that they resist this as naive realism. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. That ain't it. There is no schematic to life. There is no force or entity outside of myself that could be setting out, little traps for you to trip on. And a natural reality is a conceptual construct. And that natural reality is a conceptive construct. And then again, meaning that, the postmodernists don't believe that, things of nature was, in a sense, ideas or philosophies concerning, the workings of natures were just things that was just made up by people, so there's no need to take them into credence. You don't have to, acknowledge anything that is said when somebody speaks of, in a sense, a natural order. If you're speaking on things that are of a natural order, you don't have to listen because it's not real. That's just something that the person made up, which is not true. There is a schematic to life that people need to learn. Two, as far as the modernist thinking, descriptive and explanatory statements of scientists and historians can be true or false, meaning that, the theories or the principles that scientists and historians come up about either how the material world works or, how history plays a role in our present day society, can be falsified in a sense, or proven wrong or proven right through criticism or scrutiny, or, a test of, the validity as, philosophies or practices that are true. Okay, now postmodernists say that there is no absolute truth. Now, okay, that's a tricky one there, because there is a such thing as an absolute truth in Kemetic philosophy. In a sense, kind of saying like some people, like today, they say like, they can be who they want to be. And then sometimes, they want to try to be that person that they think they can be, and they run into all kinds of conflicts and problems. See, that kind of gets into the thing of cause and effect, but those are Kemetic principles, so like I said, I'll talk about that later on. To them, to postmodernists, all truth is relative, like, when you hear the statements of like, my truth. Okay, now 3, through reason and logic, this is the modernist, through reason and logic, people can change themselves and community for the better, which is very true, but you have to gain in the gaining of knowledge or the gaining of understanding in order to do that, in order to actually weed out, what is detrimental to yourself as a person and your community, and then try to bring in, lines of thinking or practices that can actually better your people and better yourself along the way. Now, postmodernists say that reason and logic to better society only makes people and society potentially more destructive. And they say that, the nature of man, and by that line of thinking, to say that you can just do and be whatever you want to be, as far as the postmodernists see the world. You don't have to try to gain an understanding, of the realities around you, in a sense to make you better, and in a sense to actually not necessarily do everything that feels good to you, but sometimes you might have to do the hard thing, the thing that doesn't feel so good, in order to actually make you better. Postmodernists believe that no, everything's about good feeling, but I'll kind of get back on that a little bit later on. Okay, the fourth tenet of modernist thinking: reason and logic is universally valid, meaning that all peoples around the world have some form, or can have some form, of syllogistic thinking, or thinking that aligns or forms a truth, an absolute truth. Everybody in the world can engage in the thought processes that, whereas you measure, the reality that you're experiencing, and then really perceive, or then really figure out if it is a truth or not, if it is harmful or beneficial. Now, postmodernists believe this too is a construct, and only useful and practical in particular scientific field. Oh God, I talk bad. Let me turn that back. Okay. Now, what that means, postmodernists believe this too is a construct, and only useful in particular scientific field. Meaning what they think is that reason and logic are not needed. Feelings, is what is primary. And that not all people engage in any kind of cognitive, rationalization or logical thinking in order to solve problems or create new pathways in their societies, which of course is not false, which of course is false. 5, there is human nature. It consists of faculties, aptitudes, dispositions that are present at birth, meaning you are born with a specific personality and character traits. That was the modernist way of thinking. Now, the postmodernists say all aspects of human pathology are socially determined, meaning that all the way people think is socially constructed by people who came from them. You don't think for yourself, other people think for you. That's what the postmodernists believe, which is false also. Everybody is born with specific personality and character traits from birth. It's up to you to find them. Okay, now 6, language, as far as the modernists, language represents a reality outside of itself, which means that words have meaning, and words are used to describe what you are experiencing in reality. Now, it's always best to be able to learn the right terminology so that when you take it into your mind, you can form that picture of the reality in which you're seeing, and then be able to cognitively diagnose what you're truly experiencing. Okay, now postmodernists say they feel that language has no particular meaning, but only subjective meaning, meaning that, whatever word you use as an individual subjectively at a particular time can mean anything it wants, and as long as it's a justification and it makes you feel good, then use it. There's no particular meaning to it. You can usually see this in people after, as far as the postmodernist thinking, you can see how when people who are of a postmodernist mindset, when they use language, they use empty words. They use a lot of, as they call it, word salad. And then once they get to the end of what they said, they stop for a minute, look like this and go, yeah. They confuse themselves. And at that moment, they actually trying to convince themselves of their own bullcrap. Okay, carrying on. Point number 7. Humans can acquire knowledge of natural reality through evidence of principles perceived intuitively, meaning that you can actually perceive a natural reality if you can recognize its reoccurrences. That's the thing. nature, natural principles will always reoccur. And once you start to see them, and then you can intuitively say, okay, well, if this happens, this is going to happen. And then at the end, that does happen, then you've actually gained yourself some knowledge about natural reality. Very true. And it does work like that. Okay, now the postmodernists reject philosophical foundationalism, meaning that everything is what it is. There is no reoccurrences in nature that can be measured intuitively. So, no, that don't exist. It just, no, it doesn't. In essence, it just sits there and allows a person to make choices and not want to deal with the consequences, which you can see a lot of that today. Everybody wants to have a choice, but nobody wants to accept the consequence. Okay, now 8, and the final one. There are general theories concerning natural life, meaning that there are principles that will always remain the same. Now this may end one day, like the sun coming up in the east. Now that can change, sometimes it does move a little bit, but that's a principle that usually happens. The moon, at sunset, once it rises in different places every night, or every different week, and that's a physical, natural reoccurrence that actually happens and usually remains the same. Okay, now postmodernists believe this only begets conformity. Now, the trick to that is what the postmodernist thinking is that if people were to understand that some natural principles are just solidified in stone, they are not going to change, regardless, not irregardless, regardless of how you feel about that certain principles or how that certain principle affects you. Thus, you must adjust yourself to it to make sure the better outcomes and benefits come from that particular principle. But in today's postmodernist world, people feel like, no, that's tying me down, like you have in feminism. Oh, we got to end the patriarchy. We got to end male head of household leadership. We don't have to listen to men, you know what I mean? And, the outcomes is usually not so good for a lot of women. They lose a lot of things of life, but, and it's the same way with, men and, expecting certain things from women also, that doesn't really happen like that. But anyway, now to end this off, postmodernism believes that objective discourses or absolute truths only benefit the powerful. Thus, postmodernist thinking is more democratic and just. So as the belief goes, the layman can know just as much or more than the journeyman, meaning that, subjective reasoning is just as absolutely relative and the same as objective reasoning and logic, And the thing with that is that in today's world, you see a lot of anti-intellectualism. And that's, that line of thinking is what breeds that kind of thinking amongst the layman thinkers, it's okay. Yeah. There's a lot of things that, someone may know that someone more, in a sense, educated or erudite or self-taught, or academically taught, might know also. They might know some, the layman might know some key elements that, the academically taught person hasn't picked up on. Yeah, that is a truth. But overall, the layperson, is not going to really know the intricacies of certain, issues, as, the journeyman thinker would know. So it would be good for the layman person to actually sit back and maybe take in some things because it actually sharpens their perspectives on the world. Now, that in that, and you can see that in today's world, the lay people thinking that they know just as much as the academically trained people, and the disdain for intelligentsia that many lay people have. When you see lay people using the phrase my truth, my truth. And in most instances, people who say my truth haven't put that truth to a test. And that is the only way you can find out if what you believe is actually an absolute truth, meaning that it can withstand scrutiny. It can withstand a scientific method. And that would be, either, critical or reproofs of others, what can withstand that, and what actually reoccurs in the natural world. So like, say for instance, in today's world, amongst, people who engage in the argumentation, between in the modern dating and things like that, if a woman, sits there and keeps picking the same, type of male individual, and then complains that she can't, pick a good man, you know what I'm saying? She can't get a good man out when she's still picking these certain men by certain attributes that these men have. Yes, you just might turn around and keep getting the same thing if you keep choosing, the particular attributes that general idea of what you like have. And it's the same way with men and their choices of women, if you like a big butt and a smile, if you keep, choosing the women because they got a big butt and a smile, and you overlook some of the inconsistencies, of what you want as a man. Like, you want, a woman that's loyal, and you want a woman that's going to take care of you and take care of the house, but you keep, choosing where, you're going to get what you're going to get. You shouldn't expect them to change. You shouldn't think that, simply because, well, maybe if I show this example, they will change. No, it don't work like that. I've been through that a couple of times in my life. And I wasn't thinking that they would change. I was hoping they would, but, and it turned out just like, it should have, because I made that choice. It happens to everybody, but once again, and in today's world, you can see many of people afflicted with the postmodernist philosophical concepts. You can be whatever you want to be, and nobody else's opinion matters, and there is no natural order to things, and I can just make my own reality. No, it don't work like that. It just turns the world into a big ball of confusion as it is today, and it leaves many of people confused and suffering and still clamoring, for what are the problems, Well, I mean, the thing about that is, if you want to find solutions, to the problems you might be facing as a person or problems within the world, you got to be able to accept the truths that come to you, and then you got to be able to sometimes say, I can't do whatever I want to do that makes me feel good. And see, and that's the thing, postmodernism talks about, it wants to create this liberal mindset that disallows, the abilities of the powerful, of the elite and the powerful to exploit you. When in fact, the pattern of thinking actually, makes you as a person jump into the cauldron of the elite and the powerful, and to become their stew. You actually, bring more. You actually allow them to have more control over you, and from that control they have over you, they actually generate more wealth. I mean, you think about it, with the gender politics, when you got, women, saying I can be just as good as a man and I can do, this, that gets a lot more women in the gym, buying pants and stuff like that. Like the sexual issues, I can be a woman, I'm a man, and there ain't no such thing as, a woman. What is a woman? And what that does, you have a lot of women buying, Old Spice. You get a lot of men buying Fendi lipstick. So your consumption, the consumption that you engage in from having that mindset actually benefits the people that you supposedly want to take the power away from, take the control away from, and deny the conformity, but you're still falling into a bag of tricks, whether you know it or not. And like I said earlier, the game remains the same, only the players change. Only the players change. And that's just the way it is. Now, when it comes down to how modernist thinking correlates to the ancient Kemetic sciences, under the ancient Kemetic sciences, you have the concepts of mentalism, which is the universes of a mind. It is a thinking thing, which, correlates with that modernist thought that, there is a diagram to nature. Correspondence, as above, so below, meaning that you as a person, you're going to your connectedness with the greater universe can be seen within the cycles that you go through as a person, as same as the as the cosmology. Correspondence, rhythm, meaning the pendulum swings forth and back. Life, has its good times and its bad times. Vibration, meaning that there is an unseeable wavelength between people and nature, that you can feel, and that can actually bring about events that you might intuit. I'm kind of not really explaining that too well, but most people, you can see when most people talk about, I was feeling a vibe, or, their vibe was off to me. That's the principle of vibration. Cause and effect, if this happens, might just be the effect, what happens next, and then there's the outcome after that. How it is overall, like if you're a man, you choose a thought, that's the cause, the effect, she ran your pockets, the outcome, you sitting up half crazy, want to choke her ass. No, your fault. Okay. Cause and effect, polarity, with meaning that, like how people would say love and hate, sometimes there's love and sometimes there's hate in the same things. They just differ in degree, like some people can say, I love pizza, and some people can say I hate pizza, but in the middle you might have, well, it's good to eat, something like that, Okay, polarity. Then after that, let's see, it's 7 of them. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect. Let me get that. Let's see if we got that right. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and the last one, gender. There's masculine and feminine principles in all things. There's the greater and the lesser, not the stronger and the weaker. And you can think of that as far as gender when you think of a battery. A battery has a positive end where power comes out of, but no power could come out of that battery if it wasn't for the negative end, which actually strengthens and allows that positive aspect to exude the power. So that's the principle of masculinity and femininity. And, as a man, if the man is, protecting, and giving information to a woman, that woman is supposed to sustain that man. So, that's how it works in nature. As far as the modernist principles, but that's as far as the Western modernist versions, they haven't got those principles yet. But the thing is that postmodernism is a very dangerous ideological construct because it allows people to operate and live and cognate from their base instincts, whether it be lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, the 7 deadly sins. And that's what people, that's the modality people come from when they engage in postmodernist thinking. You have to, there is a right and wrong. There is a cause and effect, and there is especially, and this is what postmodernism clouds, choice and consequence. Choice and consequence. You will never get past the consequences of your choices. That's why it's always best to gain as much knowledge you can about yourself. Oh, wow, it cut out. Well, anyway, hold on. Let me see if I can get something. My light went out. Ain't that about nothing? This is Stuart Knight, author of the books Marginalizing White Supremacy, Poetic Visions, A Steep Mister for a Sister. Oh, there it came back. It just went out on me after about so long. Ain't that's sad? I believe it in the video, though, because it's just one of them moments. Once again, this is Stuart Knight, author of the books Marginalizing White Supremacy, Poetic Visions, A Steep Mister for a Sister, and of course, A Spirit the World Has Forgotten. And available at Amazon. It went out again. Let me see if I can get it back one more time here. Amazon.com, Lulu.com, Barnes & Noble, and iBooks. For my light that goes out again, I will say peace.